If you think Elon Musk's $500 billion fortune is impressive, wait until you meet Jacob Fugger. This 16th century banker controlled 2% of all of Europe's economic output, the equivalent of $400 billion today. But he didn't just have money. He chose emperors. And he wasn't alone. The Medici family didn't just lend money to the Pope. They were the financial system of the Catholic Church. In the 1420s, the Medici operated two entire branches in Rome, dedicated exclusively to church affairs, generating half of the bank's total profits. The business was genius. The Medici family collected 10% of your income for the church through a banking system. If you didn't pay, you faced excommunication, a direct ticket to hell in the medieval mindset. The Pope himself had a massive overdraft at the Medici Bank, making it the most profitable business in Europe. But the real political power came when they got their own members elected as popes. Pope Leo X, elected in 1513, was a Medici, giving the family exceptional power in the Vatican. One bishop's appointment was delayed until his father, a cardinal, had paid his debts to the Medici Bank. Giovanni de' Medici and later Cosimo de' Medici transformed Florence into their personal city, controlling everything from the shadows. Jacob Fugger, nicknamed the Rich, didn't just lend money to kings, he manufactured emperors. When Emperor Maximilian I died in 1519, owing Fugger 350,000 florins, Jacob had to protect his investment. The solution? Buy the throne of the Holy Roman Empire for Maximilian's grandson, Charles V. The unanimous election by the electors required astronomical bribes, 851,585 florins. Fugger provided 543,385 florins, 2/3 of the total amount. The rest came from the Welser banking family and 3 Italian companies. In exchange, Fugger obtained the right to continue mining metals, silver and copper in Tyrol, the largest known reserve in Europe. But Fugger's power went beyond that. He lent Archbishop Albrecht of Brandenburg the money necessary to become Archbishop of Mainz, and these loans were partially reimbursed with church income from the sale of indulgences. This corruption, partially instigated by the Fugger family, influenced Martin Luther to publish the 95 Theses in 1517, one of the most important moments in European history. In 1523, Fugger wrote to Emperor Charles V, emphatically reminding him of his services to the House of Austria. The Rothschild family created something that had never existed before, an international banking network with branches in multiple European capitals. Meyer Amschel Rothschild bet everything on Napoleon's defeat, and that strategy transformed his family into the most powerful banking force in Europe. During the Napoleonic Wars, the Rothschilds executed a brilliant financial operation. Wellington's army, advancing through Spain and Portugal toward France, faced financial shortages, and the safest method to send funds was through Paris. James Rothschild, positioned in Paris, informed the French finance minister about the transaction and received approval. The French mistakenly believed the Rothschilds were harming English currency by draining resources from London. After Napoleon's fall, the Rothschilds' international banking prominence flourished. With their extensive connections and the support of the Elector of Hesse, the Rothschilds met the loan demands of the anti-Napoleon coalition, financing the nations of the Holy Alliance. Gradually, they established an almost complete monopoly over the international banking system. Meyer Amschel's sons divided financial power across Europe. Amschel Meyer managed the Frankfurt office, Salomon established a branch in Vienna, Karl opened another in Naples, Nathan stayed in London, and James in Paris. Number 4. The Bardi family. King breakers. The House of Bardi started the powerful banking company Compagnia dei Bardi, and by the 14th century, it was so influential that it had 13 different branches located in Barcelona, Seville, Majorca, Paris, Avignon, Nice, Marseille, London, Bruges, Constantinople, Rhodes, Cyprus, and Jerusalem. Some of Europe's most powerful rulers were in debt to the Bardi family. During the 100 Years' War in the early 1340s, Edward III of England borrowed 900,000 gold florins from the Bardi family. When Edward III failed to pay in 1345, it caused the bankruptcy of the Bardi Bank. Despite the bank's bankruptcy, the Bardi family continued to benefit from their noble status, with members occupying important positions as crusaders and papal ambassadors. The marriage of Contessina de' Bardi to Cosimo de' Medici around 1415 was a key factor in establishing the House of Medici in power in Florence. Number 5. The Peruzzi family, partners in collapse. The Peruzzi family were partners with the Bardi as the largest banker merchants of medieval Europe. They lent 600,000 silver florins to Edward III of England. When the English king defaulted in 1345, both families, Bardi and Peruzzi, collapsed simultaneously. This was essentially the first financial crash in European history, proving that even in the 14th century, bankers' fate was intertwined with monarchs' political decisions. Number 6. The Welser family, colonizers of Venezuela. The Welser family was a German banking and merchant family that became extremely prominent in 16th century international high finance as bankers to the Habsburgs and financiers of Charles V. Along with the Fugger family, the Welser family controlled large sectors of the European economy. The family owned trading posts in Antwerp, Lyon, Madrid, Nuremberg, Seville, Lisbon, Venice, Rome, and Santo Domingo. The Welsers didn't just finance the emperor, but also other European monarchs. Most surprisingly, Charles V granted the family colonial rights over the province of Venezuela in 1528, making them owners and rulers of the South American colony of Klein Venedig within present-day Venezuela. They maintained that dominance until 1546. The family also had a monopoly on silver mines in Potosi, Bolivia, exporting large quantities of silver to Europe. Number 7. The Strozzi family, rivals of the Medici. The House of Strozzi was an ancient Florentine family that, like their great rivals the House of Medici, began in the banking sector before moving into politics. Until their exile from Florence in 1434, the Strozzi family was by far the wealthiest in the city, rivaled only by the Medici family. Filippo Strozzi the Elder, born in 1428 and dying in 1491, was exiled as a young man and became a successful banker in Naples, expanding the family's banking network throughout Europe. He was also a condottiero, a leader of mercenary soldiers. After his reconciliation with the Medici and return in 1466, he began construction of the Palazzo Strozzi in 1489, which became a symbol of the family's wealth and influence, merging finance and culture. The family recognized the power of art as cultural expression and a tool of social influence. So, who really had more power? Elon Musk controls $500 billion in companies that manufacture electric cars and space rockets. But he doesn't choose presidents. He doesn't appoint bishops. He doesn't decide who governs empires. Jacob Fugger controlled only 2% of the European economy, about $400 billion in today's values. But with that money, he manufactured an emperor who ruled an empire where the sun never set. The Medici didn't just lend to the Pope, they became popes. The Rothschilds didn't just observe wars, they financed entire coalitions of nations. The fundamental difference? In medieval and Renaissance Europe, money bought absolute political power. Today, even with $500 billion, Musk is still subject to government regulations, SEC investigations, and elections he doesn't control. Medieval bankers didn't just have wealth, they had existential leverage over kings and popes. When Fugger wrote to Charles V in 1523 reminding him of his services, it wasn't a request, it was a collection. When the Medici delayed a bishop's appointment until debts were paid, there was no court to appeal to. So, who had more power? Musk has more money in absolute terms. But Fugger, the Medici, and the Rothschilds had something no modern billionaire possesses: the power to make and unmake kings.